Yes, you can start, Zumer.
Just a minute. Okay, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all the participants and our esteemed panel of experts who have taken out time from their busy schedules and join us for this webinar, organized jointly by Power to SME and All India Manufacturers Organization. The webinar is around the capacity building for the MSMEs through competitiveness in manufacturing revival. And before we proceed with the discussions among our experts, I would like to take few minutes of your time to walk you through very quickly the profile of the organizers. Uh, Power to SME, it was established in year 2012 by our founder and CEO, Mr. R. Narayan. He came up with a very innovative business model which eliminated the intermediaries in the supply chain of raw material from big manufacturers to the MSME manufacturers. Thus, we were able to transfer the pricing benefits to the MSMEs. This is the entire Power to SME ecosystem. As I mentioned, Power to SME, it deals in raw material procurement and sourcing solutions. Our branch, Finance Me, it facilitates loan from our empaneled financial partners or to the MSMEs on a very seamless basis. Our brand SME Shops is the India's largest B2B e-marketplace for industrial and MRO goods. Both the corporates and MSMEs can buy and sell their products, industrial products over SME Shops. And last year we came up with our NBFC by the name BizFunds, which is into very innovative financial solutions in raw material and working capital finances. The key product categories that we deal in includes steel, polymer, paints, yarn, chemicals, and there are several others. The major industrial sectors that we cater to includes auto components, electronics, textiles, engineering, and there are many more. Uh, we can skip this. We are an invested company. Some of the most reputed venture funds of the country have invested in us. Inventors, Kalari, Excel. Nandan Nilekani is one of our strategic investors. We are also funded by World Bank through its financial arm, International Finance Corporation. This is the few awards and accolades that we have won over time. Worth mentioning here is Forbes India Leadership Award, which is really very prestigious. And this is our social media presence, and you can find us on any of the mediums here. So with these words, I would like to request Dr. Kumar to kindly take up the session, and also request all the participants, if you have any query right now or during the course of the discussion, kindly submit your queries in the chat box. These questions will be taken to Dr. Kumar and other speakers in Q&A session. So over to you, Dr. Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Zumer. It's indeed a great pleasure to have very eminent experts, in fact, to this program. And as we have been chatting prior to commencement of the program, we have the practical side of the, management and the professional management consulting style of of the management. So we will have deliberations in detail later, and I'll introduce my guest speakers also when I invite them. But before that, let me discuss the issue that is in hand today. In fact, capacity building of MSMEs by reviving the manufacturing. Now, when we say capacity building of MSMEs, it's a very wide and very vast subject. Well, we know that MSME sector, micro, small, and medium enterprises sector has been, while on the one hand contributing a great deal to the Indian economy and to the employment generation and exports and manufacturing, but at the same time, it has been having certain problems also. It has been struggling, in fact, with regard to the need for having adequate funding. Inputs, in fact, availability has been a constraint at the right price and at right time. And then there are certain compliances issues which the industry has been facing, particularly the MSMEs, and they have been asking and writing again and again for bringing in a lot of measures for real ease of doing business. While the government has been taking proactive steps time and again and have brought in a lot of measures, But then there is still, a gap between the expectations and the fulfillment of those expectations. So we will discuss those things, in fact, during the course of our discussion over the next 50, 60 minutes. Capacity building in terms of now, I limit it to the post-COVID situation, because COVID-19 has brought in the whole cycle, backward. It had very adverse impact, in fact, on the functioning of the entire business community, and the MSME sectors were also, if not more, equally affected. And the business virtually started, going down, and there was pessimism all sides when the lockdowns were introduced, and gradually, when from July the lockdown started lifting, we had, some hopes that the things would get revived. If not full hopes, then some hopes started, coming in. I'm happy to say that the actual comeback has been much more than what we expected. While there was complete shutdown and bottlenecks with regard to movement of people, movement of material, non-availability of inputs, labor had left, and banks had, started squeezing, recovering the money. A lot of pressures on the business, particularly the MSMEs who run their businesses basically on day-to-day basis. If their labor goes away and their workers go away and the inputs are not available, and more than that, the demand, there was no demand left. I mean, absolute shutdown. So bringing all these and reviving all these back itself, in fact, has, in which the government also played a very, very significant role. When the government announced relief packages during COVID-19, it played a very positive impact on the, revival of the MSMEs after the lockdowns were gradually lifted. So while some of the measures have taken by the government have resulted in very positive improvements, like emergency credit line of 3 lakh crore, which has really given a lot of liquidity help. There were certain other expectations of the industry with regard to relief from electricity and rental and wages, which have partly been, of course, done by the state governments, because some of the issues have to be handled by the state government, like electricity dues. And the central government also, in fact, came out with some relief in terms of, paying the employees' provident fund dues partly, and in order to attract the new employment, as well as re-engagement of employment who had left, or who were in fact forced to, who were laid off. So some help from the center, some from the states. But then I would say, more than all these, the spirit of entrepreneurship in our country has really again given contribution and contributed to the revival of this. Now, when we come to capacity building at this stage, we are talking of a little higher, expectations. The minimum benchmark, minimum standard have been achieved. But then if you talk of full-scale recovery, full-scale rehabilitation, full-scale, comeback, that is yet to happen. And you see, demand side, of course, there is no problem. I think demand has been fully revived. While people are little, conscious of their now priorities with regard to spending, but then over a period of time, I think people are going to get back to their normal way of living. But by and large, the demand is back. We can see from the recovery of various sectors, electronics and auto and consumer durables and other food processing and other things. And with this revival, the industry, MSME sector, of course, needs to be further, helped, and their manufacturing can be boosted, so that, and whatever inputs and financial assistance is required, that should be provided. looking at the other measures which can be taken now besides what the government has announced during the COVID-19 as a first package and second package, I would say there are certain sore points which still continue to pain the working of the MSMEs, and one of them is of course the cost of funding and availability of adequate funding. While the government has taken initiative, the banks have also come forward, but then there is still a constraint with regard to availability of financial resources. That should be eased, and the cost also has to go further down, because if you have to become globally competitive, you have to really match up with regard to the cost of production and cost of other factors of production also. The second thing is, of course, the issue of delayed payments. That is still troubling the MSME sector, micro, small, and medium enterprises. And there have to be some innovative mechanism, in fact, to ensure that the payments of bills and invoices are made in time, well in time. And those who do not abide by the provisions of the law, MSME Development Act, are taken to task with little strict measures. See, there is a provision of payment within 45 days. Beyond 45 days, one has to pay interest for the delayed payment. But then the implementation part is much to be desired. Some teeth have to be given to the MSME facilitation councils, where the cases keep on dragging for a long time. And non-payment of checks is another issue, and crores of cases with regard to non-payment of check under Section 138 are continuing to be pending with courts. And I don't know how these matters will get resolved unless some innovative rules are implemented, some new mechanisms are implemented, maybe some digital way of working out these legal issues and payment issues are resolved. So some new initiatives have to be taken with the new guidelines from the government, so that this delayed payment issue can be resolved. To begin with, of course, if the government itself from their own departments and PSUs can clear all these payments, it will be very helpful. I mean, while the government, one of the measures in the first package announced that all government payments will be cleared in 45 days, it is still not done as per the feedback available. So that is another measure which the government can take to ease the flow of credit and flow of funding, flow of liquidity to the MSMEs. Now, there is another provision which the government announced is with regard to the fund of funds. In fund of funds of 50,000 crore, which is a very laudable step, because it will help in terms of infusion of equity into the MSMEs, which is a very innovative measures and much desired. We have been, in fact, from PhD chamber also and from FICCI also, we have been advocating for this measure. So while the government has accepted, but the model needs to be tweaked a bit, because fund of fund, the implementation through daughter funds, which again would amount to only providing money to the other implementing agencies. Now, other implementing agencies or the other daughter funds, who may be in the private sector or in joint sector, may have their own criteria and norms. So the purpose of the government to help the needy MSMEs may not be fulfilled if this model is not tweaked, and direct disbursement, direct provision of funding from the fund of funds is also introduced. So that is another issue which I thought let me flag. And the NPA, of course, classification norms, that is very much needed. While for some time the courts have suspended the implementation and asked them not to classify into NPA, and the government also, in fact, brought in one of the measures. But then the sword is still hanging, and it needs to be settled. In fact, I think it is high time to improve the trust between the bankers and the borrowers, and to be more practical in terms of management of borrowings and the credit with the borrowers. I think there is need to increase the period from 90 days to 180 days, which is very much required. So these are some of the measures. There are other issues also, like taxation issues. While you have reduced the taxation for companies with turnover of 400 crore up to 25%, but for proprietary and partnership firms, it is still the same as it used to be earlier, 33%. So that also we have requested that it should be brought down to, equal level as applicable for the industries. So I would bring in now at this stage. I think we need to start discussions with our professional experts also. First, I will like to bring in Mr. Dr. Ajay, who is head of the supply chain practice business transformation, and has more than 37 years of experience as a management professional, and has proven credentials of successful performance in the areas of SCM operations, logistic, warehousing, purchase, import and export, inventory control, and with specialized skills in business administration and general management. He has worked with multinational companies, large Indian conglomerates, to name a few, like Torrent Pharma, Cable Corporation of India, Mahindra and Mahindra, and has been successfully, helping in establishment of short and long-term budgets, corporate strategies for achievement of business targets. So a host of, rich experience that Dr. Ajay has. So I would like to invite Dr. Ajay. I think you have understood the, area of discussion that we are talking of. What are the issues that we still need to, focus upon to revive the manufacturing, and also build the capacities for the MSME sector? Of course, it's a very general thing, build capacities, but then capacity building is always needed for the MSME sector in order to scale up their operations. So over to you, Dr. Ajay.
Thank you. Uh, well, Mr. Goyal, Dr. Kumar, Mr. Zumair, and all the distinguished attendees. Good afternoon to all. Thank you all to SME for inviting me here. I think as Dr. Kumar has said, that we represent the second part of the second side of the coin. We are from the consulting part of the industry. What we are doing, actually, we are a bunch of like-minded professionals who have worked and served the industry at various capacities for more than 30-35 years each, and now have decided that something we must give back to the society. And one of the areas we said that we will form a like-minded friends coming together, like-minded professionals coming together, and making it a little formal, and help and we thought that MSME is the right kind of a sector from which we should, or to which we should provide some of our experiences, if not wisdom. And from that angle, we have started what we call as practice business transformation. We are part of my CFO, which was mainly in the finance and compliance and accounting, I would say, practices and helps to the industry. However, this transformation thing which we have taken up for MSMEs is a practical, I would say, hand holding of the MSMEs, taking them through the journey. And as Dr. Kumar has said, that building up the capacity, building and increasing the top line, and naturally by bringing some of the efficiencies, definitely increasing the bottom line. So with that preamble, I'll just share a small presentation which we have made, which will give you the idea of what we are doing. And we have clienteles both in finance and non-finance or manufacturing sectors, and we are doing certain the hand holding for them. So this will be clear once I start making the presentation. So I'll just switch off my video and start sharing my screen. It's a small 5-6 slide presentation. Uh, Dr. Kumar, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, yes. Please go ahead.
So we have said rejuvenation engine for medium enterprises is basically is MSME. Though we have made medium enterprises, it's mainly targeted to MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. So this is what we are index contained, and well, some of the MSME challenge I don't have to actually talk about it. Many of you are running the MSMEs. Many of you are associated with MSMEs in some form or other. I think we have tried to sum up some of the challenges which today MSMEs face, and this is not necessarily during the COVID. During the COVID, maybe some of the kind of challenges are more severe, but these challenges which we have mentioned are general challenges which MSME sector in our country are facing. And we, like for example, ability to scale up, ability to market the products, to attract qualified talent and offer them a career path, which Dr. Kumar spoke about. Raw material at optimal price. I think Power to SME is already doing something on in that. Finance, Dr. Kumar just mentioned that we're getting finance for working capital as well as for capital expenditure. Exposure to latest technology for various reasons. Maybe one of the reasons is that the expenses which are to be borne or incurred for the getting the higher technology, expensive technology. Lack of skills opportunity in mentoring, grooming, which is part of HR. Again, Dr. Kumar has already talked about it. And to have multi-location setup. So many a times it so happens that you have opportunities, but because of the lack of certain, I would say, these factors, you tend to restrict yourself to only one location setup, and multi-location setup may not be possible even if there is a business opportunity. So what do we do? As we said, we handhold. We are not the consultant kind of people who come study and give a fancy report and go back. We handhold. We are talking about, we are a value proposition for the SME companies. We are taking today a cluster approach for some of the industries like electrical manufacturers, auto components, textile, or maybe even a geographical cluster wherein various of these industries can be part of that cluster. We design, build, and validate the right growth levers for the cluster by providing all requisite functional and structural support. And I will talk a little bit later about some of our resources which are coming from the industry with their vast experience. A unique venture studio to be created to provide venture building and members and taking members through this. Okay, the purpose behind this. Can I have the screen, please? Zubair, I can't read my screen fully, so please, if you can allow me to. Okay, HR solution. Yeah, HR solutions including talent acquisition, retention, development of HR practices, culture building and leadership development, and the branding solutions, particularly for B2C. And of course, for B2B, it's again a different skills which are required, which we bring to the table. We provide host of solutions, manufacturing, which is the today's theme, and supply chain solutions again, which is a complementary to manufacturing. So we talked about budgetary controls, spend management tools, business process reengineering, bringing in the efficiency in manufacturing, quality, ISO practices, workforce automation, which is through maybe time and motion study. Supply chain solutions, as we are seeing in Power to SME, they are doing procurement efficiencies, cost optimization, JIT, supply chain analysis, optimization of logistics costs or distribution costs, which is also becoming an important factor, particularly during the COVID. It is becoming more and more, as you see, a lot of export oriented units are hit because of the cost which is going up through the sky because of the less availability of containers. We bring in branding solutions both for B2B as well as B2C. Brand identity, consumer understanding, brand relaunch, loyalty program, public relationship, feasibility study in the new segments and new businesses. So we bring in that particular skills. With that, go-to-market solutions, wherein we talked about revenue assurance, yield analysis, sales team productivity, go-to-market strategy, which is an important aspect in our offering. Receivables management, cash-to-cash cycle, and business model optimization. And naturally, it is supported by the sales strategy. We are talking about sales processes, setting up the channel, driving the channel, e-commerce competencies, and business development, etc. So we get into the entire gamut of management, as Dr. Kumar has rightly put it. Governance, compliance, and legal solutions. Dr. Kumar mentioned briefly about it. That's another issue which MSME needs handholding, because the government is definitely wants us to follow certain rules and regulations and laws, and that's where we are talking about handling all the compliance requirements and helping, giving the legal help and assistance to the MSMEs. Technology solutions and ERP implementation, that's where sometimes the MSME thinks or feels that it is very expensive. So we are talking about common cloud-based solution, which because of the sharing of the expenses, it is not so cost. It doesn't become very heavy burden on MSMEs. And we are talking about if companies are ready to share certain expenses, then ERP process as per the company specific requirements, and automation processes which are available, and as I said, it can be shared between various organizations, and hence the expenses or the cost will definitely come down. On HR solution, we have leadership development and succession planning, which is a very pertinent thing for particularly micro and small enterprises, wherein the first, second, or third generation, this kind of, as I said, handing over the baton becomes important, and succession planning, leadership development is important aspect which we bring in through our experts. Talent acquisition has been an issue with MSME, and that's what we give them some kind of a support. HR information system and performance management system, which becomes important for them to retain the talent, not only attract but retain the talent. These are our team, and I'm not going to talk about individual, but all of them put together, I think we have almost 400 years of experience which we bring into the table. We have certain experts with whom we will start working as we get the mandate from the organization or from the sector. These are some of the organizations where all our experts have worked, and as you see, they range from multinational to Indian conglomerates, and we bring in to the table some of the experiences we have gained across our professional journey, and we want to give it back to the society, as I said in the beginning, through our engagement with MSME. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. I think it was a very useful presentation. Well, a host of areas that your company is engaged in. I think a lot of MSMEs would stand to benefit with regard to, whether it is performance management or HR management, inventory management, or receivables. I think any area of the business enterprise development probably is being looked after. But I was much attracted towards, performance management system, which you mentioned. Now, performance management system is a very, very complex and complicated system, which many companies, implement. But then I have seen the success rate of very small percentage with regard to the model of the performance management. I do not know whether which kind of performance management system your company is operating, but I would surely like to know, which is a uniformly applicable performance management system, which can be applied in the micro enterprises where there are employees, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So that is one point that I would like to surely ask you when I come back to you. Meanwhile, let me invite Mr. D.P. Goyal, who has been patiently waiting, in fact, to have the deliberations, in fact, going forward. Well, as we chatted prior to this program, that Mr. Goyal is another veteran, in fact, in the industry. He is the co-chair of MSME committee of the PhD chamber also, and is a very experienced, successful business person. Professionally, he is an electrical engineer from Delhi, and he started as a very humble position of sales engineer in 1970. So you can imagine 70 means 50 years. So that is a real rich experience that Mr. Goyal has, and I am sure we are going to benefit a lot from his practical and professional knowledge and experience. And then he rose to the regional manager North in the same company. But in 1986, he started his new innings as an entrepreneur and ventured into the marketing of electrical switch gears. So, and then he started his own manufacturing from the marketing, and today he runs 3 factories with a strength of around 300 people. Well, it is commendable achievement. Mr. Goyal, compliments to you, and we are really happy to have you today as one of the expert panelists to give just inform as to how did you achieve this success. What are the real reasons behind that? Whether it is the demand supply gap that helped you, or it is your personal beliefs and practices which you followed in bringing this achieving this kind of success. Over to you, Mr. Goyal. Mr. Goyal, I think you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar, for saying such nice words for me. I am really happy to be invited by Power to SME and AIMO on this platform. As you said, my success mantra. So my tagline has been, enjoy what you do, rather than do what you enjoy. So whatever field I am in, whether in service or whether in business or whether in manufacturing, I have been enjoying whatever I do in my life, every moment of my life. And that gives me a lot of strength. I really do not get tired. I get motivated by myself. And that is my one tagline which I can share with everybody, that enjoy what you do. Now, with the humble start in 1970, there was a sense of belongingness in the company. I never thought that whatever salary I am getting, I must work for that. But I was always thinking this company is my company. And if I am the owner, how would I behave? So I don't work for money. I have a passion for work. And that is what took me to the heights of a regional manager North in 1986 in the same company. I have a very stable mind. I do not keep on changing companies time and again. 16 years in one company, and that was the end of it. And when I started my own venture, I asked myself one question, that what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? I wrote down on a piece of paper. So my strengths on one side, my weaknesses on the other side. I was trying to enter into manufacturing, but then I said, entering into manufacturing at this stage, after leaving the job, would invite so much of trouble for fixed expenses. So fixed expenses, whether I can afford them, a peon, a clerk, a office, telephone expenses. Telephones were very costly at that time in 86. So I decided that let me work for myself as a salesperson, buying material from the market and selling off in the market again to the customers. Now that prompted me to look at whatever I'm selling, is it really useful for the customer? What benefit the customer is getting out of it? Am I selling it, making my money? Am I happy with it? No. I said the product which I'm supplying must give benefit to my customers. Now, what are the lacunas in that product? What the customer is facing? in course of operation, in course of maintenance, in case of services. So I found that the companies do not respond properly or timely for giving service or making the product work efficiently. Now that prompted me to go for my own manufacturing, and it was in the year 1995. I think after 9 years of my sales and marketing, I ventured into manufacturing. And manufacturing, again, I would see to it that my product works. On the lighter side, if I say, I treat my product as my daughter. If the daughter gets married and goes to the other house, the in-laws are supposed to take care of her. But I do not break my relation with my daughter. So I am at the back of it. Whenever there is a call for services, then I treat my customer as number one, because I exist because of my customer. And that is the mantra, that is the formula on which I've been working. My strength has been my people. The people who joined me in 1986, 88, 90, 95, they are still with me. So people are my strength. They rely on me, I rely on them. And that is the strength on which we have been working right from day one. And we have a very good and very positive relationship, not only with our workers, but their families as well. If somebody has got a problem for the education of the child, our company will support for that cause. Whether the child is going for a medical college, whether it is going for a primary class, but we try to help the children get educated. So that is the sense of pride for us. That is where our I won't call them my employees, they are my hands. They are my strength. So they work wholeheartedly. They have a passion to work again with the company. Now coming back to our subject, Dr. Kumar said that 3 lakh crore government has funded the MSME industry. The MSME industry, wherever this is an organized sector, the people who have taken loan from the banks, only they were funded by that fund. And that too not free. It was 8% interest yearly and 20% of the loan outstanding as on 29th of February 2020. Now, what happens to those people who are in the micro industries? I have yet to find a single case where they got any benefit from the government policies or government schemes. And micro industries are more than 75% in terms of number, not in terms of value, but in terms of number. So we have to really take care of these people. And what are the pain areas of these people, that I would like to explain, and where the government can help. We don't need any grant, any funds from the government. We simply tell the government, allow us to work. We are small people. Don't create speed breakers or don't create any roadblocks in our way. And we can certainly deliver better. At our end, we have taken care of our micro vendors, small vendors who are associated with us. We have financed them. We have seen that during the COVID period also, they get help from us. We got help from the bank by taking extra loan from the bank. But then we passed on these loans, part of it, to our vendors to make sure that they survive and they work with us. Now, regarding the recovery, Dr. Kumar said that recovery of bad debts, recovery after 45 days. This is in 2006 that the government had formed MSME Act 2006. And they had created a department called MSME Facilitation Council, MSME FC. Today it exists in 29 states of the country. And what is the role of these MSME FCs? If the small scale sector has got any problem realizing the payment from the customer, we go to MSME FC. They call the buyer, they call the seller, organize 3 meetings, try to get the negotiation done on the table. And if there is no solution, they forward this case to the arbitrator. Now, the moment they forward this case to the arbitrator, their role is finished. They are out of picture. Now, my suggestion is, why can't they take it to the logical end? The aim of creating MSME FC is not to send the cases to the arbitrator. And which arbitrator? The arbitrator is a retired judge from any of the local banks or high court or whatever. These people are mostly non-technical. Now, if the case has to be given to the arbitration, it has to be a technical team, like people, PSD Chamber or FICCI or SHM. Such organizations who have got engineering background, these people should be given the chance to arbitrate between the supplier and the purchaser. Now, this does not happen. I have got number of cases with me where the arbitrators have simply not looked into the MSME Act. They have given their decision in favor of the purchaser, although he never deserved it. Now, what happens to the MSME? MSME has got an option to go to the High Court. Now, once you go to the High Court, then this takes years and years together. So there is no conclusion. So my suggestion is, if the legal powers are given to MSME FC, if the MSME FC is allowed to take back the case, if I got a complaint from the arbitrator, for the arbitrator, I should be able to go back to the MSME FC, lodge a complaint there, and they should review the case. And in case they find the purchaser is at fault, then they should have the legal powers like the income tax department or sales tax department. They can freeze their bank account, or they can take any kind of legal action against that party. Second thing is, that the case is more than 3 years old, then there is no way of recovering money from the purchaser. Why should there be a clause of 3 years for recovery of the bad debt? 3 years is a very small period, because nobody likes to spoil relation with the purchaser. So we keep on applying, we keep on requesting. And if the purchaser does not listen, then if the time period is more than 3 years, there is no way by which we can recover the money from him. So this clause of time limitation of 3 years should be totally deleted. Once a fault, always a fault. So that clause, if some some powers are given to this MSME FC and the cases are reviewed, so I would request that MSME ministry should have a person who can listen to us. We send suggestion from PSD CCI, we send suggestion from SHM, we send suggestion from FICCI. But do we ever get a reply from the ministry? Now, such expert suggestions by the expert bodies, they go to the ministry, but then there is nobody to listen to us, nobody to respond to us. We have written various letters, but all go to waste paper basket, as we feel, because no decisions are taken there. So if a responsible person is sitting in the ministry to write back to us, to give us a feedback, whether right or wrong, we may be wrong in all the cases, but we must get a feedback that yes, your suggestions are not acceptable, and these are the reasons. So if I talk of the finances again, as per the income tax law, section 54, you sell a house and buy a new house, there is no capital gain tax. But if you sell an industry and buy a new industry, you have to pay capital gain tax. Now, this is not for the promotion of the industry. The law is already existing. They have to extend this to the industrial sector also. I sell the industry and buy a house, I don't have to pay capital gain tax. But I sell a house and put the money in the industry, then I have to pay capital gain tax. So how would I grow? For my growth, this roadblock should be removed and the industry should be encouraged to grow. So this is the point where the if we want to arrange funds from our own sources, we are not able to. If we go to the bank rates are very high, everybody cannot afford it. And everybody is not eligible also for the bank loan. If I talk of the micro industries, if we arrange funds from our own sources, we are not permitted. We have to again, if somebody is selling gold of his wife and putting the money in the industry, then also there is a problem, he cannot do that. So how do we arrange the funds? So these funds as power to SME, of course, they also review and look at the balance sheet of the company and they give the loans. They give the loans for the raw material. It's a wonderful thing. But again, this will go to the organized sector. So we must look into the unorganized sector as well, where a lot of industries do exist. We had sent a suggestion to the ministry that you are charging fixed charges on the electricity bill. Now, this is concerning all micro industries also. If I take a connection of 5 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt, 200 kilowatt, I spend all the money for taking that connection. If suppose I talk of 100 kilowatt load, I buy the transformer, I buy the ST panel, I buy the cables, I invest the entire money and government gives me the connection. Then every month, there is a fixed charge of, let us say, 25,000 rupees as fixed charges of electricity. Now, these charges were supposed to be charged from a person who is not using electricity, but he has taken the connection. Is right. Government has sanctioned this load for you. They kept the spare capacity for you to utilize the load. But if you are not utilizing that load, you must pay the minimum charges of 25,000 rupees. They are charging this as fixed charge. This should be a minimum charge, not the fixed charge. If my electricity bill is 60,000, my fixed charges are 25,000. Another 7,000-8,000 rupees comes as a surcharge on this thing, that thing. Nobody knows what kind of surcharges are there, but these charges are there. So when they say the electricity, they are supplying to the electrical industry area at 8 rupees per unit. It actually may be 12 rupees per unit because you divide the number of units consumed versus the total money spent in that bill. So 25,000 rupees, which I am mentioning as a fixed charge, if it is converted to minimum charge, that means 60 plus 25. No, they should be only 60,000 because I exceeded the minimum limit. So 60,000 rupees is fair enough and 7,000-8,000 rupees surcharge. Then divide by the number of units, this may cost only about 9 rupees. But if 25,000 also added, the unit per unit cost may be 12 rupees per unit, not 8 rupees as the government claims. Now I say charge is 25,000 also, but then permit this as a GST rebate in my invoice, in my billing. Because this money you are charging me as a tax. Now on all my raw materials, I can collect GST input. Why not the tax input on my fuel? Fuel is being used for making the product in the company. Similarly, if I'm consuming diesel in my factory, that diesel is costing me 70 rupees, 75 rupees per liter nowadays. And out of this 70 rupees, almost 75 to 80% is the tax part. Now, if this diesel is used in the generator for making the product, why this GST taxation is not allowed as the tax input? If we allowed the tax input on the generator fuel, then my electricity per unit cost by generator will come down to less than 8 rupees. And I'll be happy to use the generator instead of the electricity supply. They put a blanket ban on the generators for 3 months by NGT or by pollution control. So I've seen that more than 5 months in a year, there is a ban on using generators. Just imagine if the electricity connection is not perfect, if I'm getting a low voltage in the electricity, or if I'm getting only 2 phases out of 3 for 2 to 3 hours per day. So either I shut my factory for 2 to 3 hours, waste my labor, or I use the generator. Generator is banned for 5 months in a year. How do you expect the industry to grow? What benefit the government is giving? Their law should be that the industrial area which are outside the city limits, places like Manesar, places like Bawal, places like Nimrana, now they have nothing to do with the pollution of the city inside. Why the generator should be banned in that area? Now this is hampering the growth of the industry. We have enough resources, we have enough of manpower, we have enough of expertise, but it is a roadblock again in the growth of the industry. In Manesar industry area, there are about 2,000 industrial plots. These plots were allotted in the year 1998. And today, in 2021, more than 40% plots are lying vacant because they have been changing hands one after the other. People have not put up the industries. They keep on paying enhancement cost to the government. If I have to expand my industry, I have to go to Bawal or to some other place. While these plots cannot be resumed by the government, if an industry has not come up in that plot in 5 to 6 years, come what may, no questions asked, the government must resume the plots and allot it to the industries who are seeking to expand in that area. If I have to put up one factory in Manesar, one in Bawal, it is unmanageable. My stock cost increases, my administration cost increases, my conveyance cost increases. But if I am allowed by the government, if the government says if you want to expand, take a plot in Manesar, I'll be able to manage my 2 or 3 or 4 factories. Now 3 factories which I am running, one was allotted, 2 I have taken through some other source. It's not by the government that they have allotted me. Why should I pay extra price for that allotment? They can charge me the circle rate. You'll be surprised that the plots which are allotted at 1800 rupees per square meter in 1998, today also we are paying the enhancement cost after 22 years. This is the 4th installment which has come to us, and we have paid more than 6,500 rupees as the enhancement cost of these plots. Is it fair on the part of the government? Can they not do anything about it that, okay, once the plot is allotted to you, only one enhancement you can take or maximum 2? But whenever the peasants, the Kisan, they go to the court or Supreme Court or High Court, whatever decision comes from there, that is passed on to the industrialist. How the industry will account for this? The plot which I got for 30 lakhs, I have paid more than 2 crores at the enhancement cost of that plot. The government wants the industry to grow. One more funny thing I'll tell you. There is no national policy on transportation of the goods. If the goods in the truck exceed 8 feet height or 8 feet width, then there is a challan. In Haryana, the challan for height is 8,000. The challan for width is 8,000. So if I send my truck from here to Rajasthan, I pay 16,000 rupees plus 18% GST as the challan. In Rajasthan, it is 12,000. In Gujarat, is it 20,000? So the truck which costs from Baroda to Delhi around 40,000, I have to pay more than 1,20,000 as the transportation cost of my goods from there to this place. Transformer is 2000 kVA transformer has a height of more than 10 feet. It is more than 8 feet wide. Is the manufacturer doing a crime? Why do you charge penalty? Penalty is for an offense. If the speed limit is 80 kilometer and I am driving at 100 kilometer, you challan me so that I'm careful in future not to drive beyond 80 kilometer on that road. Fair enough. But a single unit which has a width of 10 feet and height of 12 feet or 10 feet, should they be challaned in every state? From Chennai to my place, if I get the material, I have to pay more than 1.5 lakhs as the challan on that product. Why can't there be a national policy that single item height and width is permitted, like 2-tier trucks are there for transportation of vehicles. Now that truck is approved by the transport department, but my product cannot go in that truck. It has to go on a trailer. Every trailer is not, approved for this height. Every time the trawler takes a good more than 8 feet or wide or more than 8 feet height, they are challaned. What is the solution? See, government has to think about it, that they do not strain the industry by levying this kind of things. There should be a national policy that after paying when the goods are transported, a single unit is, engineering products are mostly in the factories which are used. They have a height of more than 8 feet. So they can certainly look into it.
Yeah, surely. I think Goel Saab, you have raised very good points. In fact, these are all very important points. If we are talking of the industry revival and manufacturing revival, all these issues become very, very relevant and very important. We'll come back to you. In fact, let me rotate the discussion. We'll surely continue to discuss the issues that you have raised regarding the MSME Facilitation Council, and particularly with regard to the financing problems of the unorganized sector. The cost of financing, all these issues are very important. And particularly the delayed payment and the problems at the MSME Facilitation Center, they really need to be addressed, and some legal authority, some legal power, some teeth have to be provided, because otherwise MSME Facilitation Councils are not doing meeting the objectives with which they were set up. So while there is a way forward, I think the only thing is the transformation happens gradually, whereas our expectations are that, there are so many points that pinch us from, and all these points really are causing difficulty with regard to the growth of the sector, industry sector, whether it is infrastructure problems, whether the capital gain that you mentioned, the capital gain of raising resources by way of, various other means. All these are very important issues. Let me bring in Dr. Ajay again. Dr. Ajay, are you there?
Of course, yes. Sir.
Yeah. So what I was going to ask you is that since you said you have been working, your company has been working in Delhi with some companies. So just, for the benefit of the other, potential customers that you can have from the SME sector, which are the specific areas that you are helping practically with these companies that you are working in Delhi?
Well, to very briefly tell you, to enhance the top line and to enhance the EBITDA. Now, to do that, whatever is required to be done, starting from manufacturing to sales and marketing, we are doing everything. Just to give you a very brief answer on that, as I said, we are hand-holding. We have our resources who are interacting. Not only we are interacting virtually, but we are physically at the client side. The client has got 2 factories. The third factory we have proposed as a strategy, and we are setting up the third factory also in the north. And as I said, just to give you a very, very brief, I hope it's not an abrasive kind of answer, but just to give you a very brief answer, I would say everything which brings the top line to a newer heights and to make a healthier EBITDA.
Okay, can you give some hints for the benefit of people? How do we do it?
As I said,
Yeah.
we are not giving only the I would say report and just and taking a step back. We are ensuring that we drive that particular process along with the entrepreneur or the management team which is already there. So what we are doing is as I said, for example, take a case. We were talking about this industry not doing the hedging of certain metals. We have proposed that, and not only that, we are implementing it. Reverse auction in the purchase of raw material and other components. They were not doing it earlier. We have not only gone and negotiated with one of the very strong service provider or a web-based solution, and now we are implementing it, and we're expecting at least 5 to 7% saving immediately coming on through this reverse auction model. So to answer your question, what we are doing, we have put in our manufacturing expert in the plant. He has spent 15 days along with the team and has given certain inputs. And I don't say that this was not looked after or looked by the manufacturing team. It's only the newcomer who is coming from outside, who has got an industry experience of maybe for 35 or to 40 years, brings in certain different insight into the whole thing, and he looks at it with a very fresh eye. And with that, I think we are getting that it's not only not getting a acceptance, but wholehearted support from the management team on the grounds, and we are able to implement certain things in last 4 or 5 months, which are given them the management team has started seeing the results coming in. And I think whatever we are proposing is slowly. Take a case of solar energy. I know a simple proposition of and not so simple, because there is a capital expenditure involved. But when our team we have the analyst, young analysts who are doing a lot of back office work, and we have put in our detailed proposal about the solar panel or solar energy into both the plants. We have realized that we can gain a lot of not only competitive advantage but also a financial advantage. So these are some of the areas, as I said, whether it's a supply chain, we are talking about enhancing product range. We are talking about enhancing a product range and going to the market all India. We have already opened up 2 big states in the country, while they were only in Haryana and Punjab and Rajasthan to certain extent. So what we are doing is we are giving them some certain insights. We are giving them certain inputs. We are getting some of the market research done by the professionals into their I would say domain knowledge, and we are requesting them to take. Finally, of course, the decision is of the management. Decision is of the entrepreneur. We are facilitators. We are only handholding. But I'm very happy that this particular client, and not only on this one we are talking about, we have one in Mumbai, one in Goa. We're talking some couple of people in Calcutta. I think the approach is very positive, and people have realized that we are going to bring to the table a lot of expertise from various aspects and various facets of management.
Thank you. I think very very good information, which will surely be helpful to the other SMEs also, those who may be looking for this kind of assistance from your company. So coming back to Mr. Goyal, I think one issue that is troubling, in fact, all of us, and particularly the whole MSME sector, is the non-payment of the dues. Mr. Goyal, are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So you raised that issue very forcefully, and I know that you have been raising this issue for quite some time. While the issue has been referred to the government also time and again, and the government also noted, and they announced, and the Honorable Minister himself announced, and the Finance Minister in the first COVID relief package also mentioned that all the dues will be cleared in 45 days. But the problem is it is, practically not happening. Now, I was wondering that while everybody wants, industry wants, government has taken initiative, has set up the MSME Facilitation Council, still it is not working. So what is the way forward? How do you think the concrete measures, which are the concrete measure can be taken For example, whether taking cases to the courts is the last resort. I don't think that is going to help, because you can't, as an industry, you can't wait for years together. It takes long time. So what is the quickest way of resolving the issue amicably, and so that your business interests do not get suffered, your relationship also does not get vitiated, and you get your money also back? Is there any simple way forward that you have in mind?
So my way has been always to sit across the table, request the customer. Although it is my money which I have to take, but still I have to make a lot of requests,
So,
because I am now of the opinion that going to MSME FC also does not help.
so that means dispute resolution through amicable settlement, that is
That is
to
the best.
mutual, that is first thing.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, suppose we are maybe we go step by step. Mutual settlement, of course, is the best way. After consultation and mutual settlement, resolving the dispute is the best way. If that doesn't happen, you said that the next course would be arbitration. Now, arbitration,
MSME FC.
no, I say that MSME FC is only a mediator.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what happens is the arbitration, because
Correct.
MSME FC also refers to the arbitrators. So
Correct.
what is their value addition? It's only a mediator. So if you use them, it's fine. If you don't use them, as a buyer and seller, you can also jointly go for arbitration. I mean, without even the help of FC. Otherwise, what is Facilitation Council doing? Rather, I would say, I mean, just for your consideration, maybe for the benefit of others also, if two of you decide on a common arbitrator, which is acceptable to both of you, that is first thing. If two of you, buyer and seller, decide on two arbitrators, one of your choice, one of his choice, maybe you don't trust on one, both of you, and then there is a third, which is the referee arbitrator. So that is another model where a group of three arbitrators, of course, it increases the cost, because all three arbitrators have to be paid by both the parties jointly. So it surely increases the cost, but then it brings objectivity into the whole process of arbitration. Is that the way forward? I'm just asking you.
Sir, that will come only when the purchaser is willing to pay me. There is no dispute. I have to take 1 lakh. He says, yes, in my books, I have to pay you 1 lakh, but I don't have money, I don't pay you. So he will not go for any arbitration himself, unless there is a compulsion by the government. Now, MSME FC is a government body which puts a pressure on that buyer. And if that is given the legal powers, it's the best way out. It is the best way. Because
what legal powers can be given?
I tell you one.
What legal powers can be given to facilitation councils?
Facilitation Council says that if the arbitrator has given an award in favor of the seller and the purchaser doesn't pay, so he has to go within go to the High Court in the next 90 days. He doesn't go there also. He takes the award in his hand, says, I don't pay. Now, what do I do as a seller? I go to the local court, district court, lodge a complaint.
It's a defiance.
They take 1 year, then I go to the High Court, lodge a complaint again.
It's a defiance.
We cannot recover the money in any way, even after the arbitration is awarded.
So I think
so that is why I say the legal power should be given to the
legal powers means the policing
That
powers.
is why legal powers have to be
legal powers. See, legal
like
powers.
the sales tax department.
Policing powers, yes. Enforcement powers. You mean to say enforcement powers?
Sir, enforcement powers.
Enforcement powers.
Without the enforcement power, this has no value at all.
That is what we call them, as giving them legal.
I tell you
some teeth. Some teeth have to be given, isn't it?
It has to be given. Or third point is, let the third party, actual user should be made a party of it. Now, I tell you a practical example. Delhi Police Headquarters is being made in Parliament Street, Delhi. The contractor is from Mumbai. He owes me 1.25 crores for the last more than 1.5 years. He says, I will not pay you any penny. Do whatever you like.
So let us
I have
not
gone
bring
to
in,
MSMEFC.
let us not bring
He
in
has sent a
individual
notice.
cases here. I think
He
Goyal
does
sir,
not respond. He does not go to MSMEFC.
let us not bring in individual cases here, because that is not the purpose of our discussion. The purpose is that we bring out some policy
I'm
measures.
telling you an example.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I think we have
The
by
bias
and
is I
large.
don't finish.
Yes. No, I think your suggestions are well taken and very practical suggestions, because these suggestions are based on your personal experience and in the interest of the sector, not that individual one or two organization firms. Basically, the sector should benefit, and
No,
all
this
these
is for the entire country.
Yes. No, I do appreciate all these experiences. Basically, are going to indicate that where the problem lies, why the where does the
Now I
industry
tell you
need?
one more.
Yes.
I tell you now two more things. One thing
Yes.
is the labor law of Haryana. They have introduced a labor law that anybody drawing less than 50,000 rupees in a factory, you must have a strength of 75% from local Haryana.
Oh,
I have
recently.
300 people.
Yes.
Recently. So should I have 225 people from Haryana? Can I get the labor? Those people who are working with me for the last 5-10 years, can I retrench them and send them home back? Now, why this? How this policy has come up?
Actually,
And
we
if
are
I
talking
don't
of
obey this, the labor inspector comes to my office. Haryana.
we are talking of
1 month back, they have
simplification.
introduced this law.
We are talking of simplification and easing of the doing business, whereas
And
these
they are complicating.
new provisions are coming further to strangulate the business. You see,
This is in spite of the COVID-19. We are passing through a very difficult phase. And then they introduce this kind of a law. Another thing, this steel price, we must be aware, have gone to 72 rupees per kg as on today. 4 months back, they were 41 rupees per kg. Right? This is a rise of more than 70%. Now I checked up why the prices have shooted up. China is the biggest supplier of steel in the world. Most of the countries have banned the product from China. India is the second largest producer of steel. So all these export orders have gone to our country. Our manufacturers are giving preference to export. It's good for the country. But basic raw material, which is required by every industry in India, copper, from which you make house wires, that has gone up by more than 40% in last 4 months. And the material is not available. Even at that price also, the raw material is not available. How can the industry work? Should the government not make a policy that you cannot export more than 30% of your production to export for this raw materials? Otherwise, you're killing the local industry. My input cost has gone up like anything. And we are going to end into losses at the end of the month.
I think there could be other agencies monitoring these aspects. I am sure that there would be somebody in the government and at appropriate levels in the government who would be looking at these policies.
Sir,
And
Mr. Nitin Gadkari has written a letter to the Prime Minister on this subject. He said, my infrastructure will die. He has written about a month back to the Prime Minister. He has said in the national TV. I have heard him. He said, not in my hands. I can't help it. If a minister says like this, where do we go? I told you of transport. I told you of toll plazas. Every toll plaza near the industrial area is causing so much nuisance by way of time and money.
Chalo, anyway, we have been taking, in fact, it's a continuous process of talking to the government, bringing out these measures, initiatives which the government should take. But the only problem is that new hurdles should not be introduced. New hurdles should not be introduced. And
Sir, they do not respond. That is why I say there should be a responsible man. in
No,
the
in fact-
ministry to
in-
respond
in
to our
fact-
queries.
In fact, we can't be so pessimistic. There are, people who, if we bring them to the notice, there may be certain constraints which we do not know. Of course, why these changes are not happening, I don't believe that the changes or these policy initiatives which can really bring a lot of ease to the business community are not known to them. But I don't know, maybe there are certain other factors which probably we are not looking at. Apparently, maybe a bigger picture. Something is there, I think, which is creating these, which is not allowing these things, these hurdles to get immediately removed. I think we have been talking on these issues for a long time. I think capital gains tax, we have been talking for a long time. These delayed payments, we have been talking for a long time. Financing issues, we have been talking for a long time. Unorganized sector. I mean, our efforts should be that we continue bringing it to the knowledge of the government, talking to them, at least trying to understand as to what are the limitations, that why is the government not, or those who are responsible not implementing it, not taking the action. That is what we can do, in fact, from the industry and from the industry chamber. So
Yeah, that is what we need actually.
yeah, so we have
Response.
come to the close of this good interactive session. I think we have had
MSMEs are very close to the heart of the Prime Minister.
yes, surely.
MSMEs
I
are
think
very
that is
close
what-
to the heart of the Prime Minister.
that is what raises our
But he is not aware of all these problems. So we
That is what-
need to reach him
Yes,
to apprise him of these problems.
yes, surely.
And he will certainly look into it.
Surely. So thank you very much. I think we would like to close it here. And Zumair, in case there is any question, you can come up.
Sir, there is no such direct question, but few participants have requested for the details of Dr. Ajay. So, sir, if you could share your details in the chat box, these participants would be contacting you directly. And we would also be like to encourage the participants to apply for our upcoming Spirit of Manufacturing Awards, which Power 2 SME does in partnership with TIE Delhi chapter. The award is scheduled for 29th of January, and the last date of application is 15th of January. So the last date is approaching quite soon. So I request that link to the subscription is available in the chat box. So do subscribe for apply for Spirit of Manufacturing Awards. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, is there any question? Any more question?
No more questions, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think we come to the close of this program. It has been really a wonderful, discussion. I think it was a question to one of the biggest problems with the MSME sector is their total unconcern with improvement and passion to become world class. The live evidence of this is the attendance of this seminar, which is hosted by the industry experts and stalwarts. Yeah, I think what you say is the attendance doesn't reflect the quality of manufacturing of the, whether it is world class or not, of the MSME sector. That's both are different issues. But one thing that, of course, MSME sector has to come up with their own quality related issues and their own meeting their own commitments in time. That is of course a desirable issue to be discussed, particularly with their manpower issues and with their compliances issues, with their taxation issues. So we expect that all these issues also should be addressed by the MSME sector. So thank you very much. And we have had a wonderful discussion with two experts, and I'm sure that the industry would surely benefit. MSME sector would surely come up post COVID-19. We have very high hopes from the MSME sector, and as the trend indicates, the MSME sector has caught up perfectly well and almost reaching to the pre-COVID level. I get a lot of feedback from the industry, and the feedback is very, very positive. So thank you very much. We will continue to have our deliberations in future, and thanks Mr. Goyal, thanks Dr. Ajay, and thank you Zumair and the other organizers who have organized this program, and
Thank
of
you,
course
sir.
the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everyone.
Okay.